Hello, Craft World. Today I'm going to bring you a necklace project that I'm using products from Creating with Detail. She has what I like to call new marvelous metals. These are all solid brass pieces. And what I've done with this particular piece is I have done a faux patina on it. And what I mean by faux is that I've used acrylic paints to give it the appearance of having a faux patina. This is what it looks like after it's been done, and this is what it looks like before it's been done. Now I'm going to use the back side of this to demonstrate to you how you can accomplish a faux patina. Now, this is one way if you don't have the wonderful Gilder's paste that Creating with Details now carries, which I have not yet gotten, but still want to accomplish the same type of feeling. So the first thing that you want to do is I started with a dark paint. In this case, I used a navy blue. I actually will tell you a secret. I thought it was black when I picked it up and wasn't really paying attention, but it worked out well anyway. And all I did was simply just put this dark paint on here in all the crevices. You want to completely cover it. And don't worry, we're going to see the metal. As you probably noticed on the other side, you can still see some of the brass, because this is going to be a put it on, take it off kind of thing. So the next thing that I'm going to do, just to speed this along, because this doesn't take a whole lot of time to dry, but enough time that we don't want to sit here and watch paint dry. So I'm just going to use my heat gun and dry it up a little quicker. Okay, that's pretty quick. It's not totally completely dry yet, but enough so that we can move on to the next step, which is the next color. And I'm using, this is the color that I used for the patina just now, the dark. And it's just a folk art acrylic paint. You can use black. Any colors that you want to use, you can use. There's no rules. There's no right, no wrong. You could start out with white. You could do whatever you want to do. It's just, I was in the mood to play with different colors, and so that's what I did. The next color is that I'm using is this Americana paint, which is kind of a, what's it called? Indian turquoise. And I absolutely, one of my favorite colors. And this is kind of a dry brush technique. So you want to get a little bit on your brush and just sort of dab it here and there. You don't want full coverage. You just want to get it into areas just to give that patinaed look. And that's pretty much all you do with that. The next color that I used was, again, and this is an old one, well used, well loved. This is a folk art. This is a metallic copper. And I used the same technique to do this. Just get a little dab of paint. And on this particular one, I always use I use my paintbrush, my finger paintbrush a lot, because I can get a little more coverage. I do the same thing, just kind of wipe it off so that you just have a little bit, and just kind of go over and highlight some of those areas that you want to add some different colors to. And that's all you do. You just put it on, and I usually start putting it on lightly. If after I get done I think I want more, I can go back and add more. And that's the nice thing about doing this, is it doesn't make any difference how many layers of this you have. You start out light and you can always go darker. But if you start out dark, you can't go lighter. The last color that I used, and it mimics the color of the brass, is again a folk art, and this is royal gold. And again, I just take what's in the cap usually, like on this one, rather than putting it out because you need so little. Just take what's in the cap, dab off the majority of it, and again, just go over the areas that you want to add some more colors to. Now this side is a little bit more difficult to, let's see if you got that on there and you don't like it that dark, like I didn't. You can always take this color or the copper and just kind of dab over it just to lighten it a little bit. So this mimics the brass color, and it's a little difficult to sand the reverse side, which I did on this side in order to reveal more of the brass. I just took a small sanding block and I cut this one down so it's more manageable for small pieces, and you just take the sanding block and just lightly go over it just to reveal some more of the copper. You can do as much or as little as you want. Now on this side, oops, got some dark paint on there, which is okay. Doesn't matter. This side, I can't really get into it. The only thing that I could get to is the raised parts, which is where I want the patina at. So on this side, we're going to probably end up using more of this royal gold, just to bring out the color of the copper that is on the other side. And again, do as much or as little as you want. We can add some more copper here. Just play with it. Now, I'm only doing the back because I like to finish my pieces so that they look good from the front or the back. So you don't have to spend as much time on the back part of this as you did the front, because it's just simply to finish it. And as you can see, the front is lighter because I was able to sand this more than the back. Now when this dries completely, I'm not going to use the heat gun because we're going to move on to some other steps, but maybe towards the end of the video we can go back and try to sand a little bit of that off and see how that works. So I'm just going to move this out of the way and clean up some of my paints here so that I'm not making a big mess. If you guys don't have one of these mats, these things are marvelous. You can just, as you can see, you can just wipe them off and move on. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do with this is I have created some chains. Now, these were just regular pieces of chain that I kind of did the patina on. And this is the color that it started out as. And I did the same thing on the chain that I did on the piece. I just took little bits of the color and just lightly dabbed it here and there just to bring out a little bit of the patina, just kind of pull the colors together. Okay, so I made 2 pieces of those. The idea is that the chains are going to be hooked right here via a jump ring, so that when the necklace is on, it will hang from here. And all I've done is attached a jump ring, and I had to use a larger jump ring on this part of it because of the distance from here to here. A smaller jump ring would not allow enough room, see the diameter is too small, to be able to get the chain on and go through that hole and close it properly. So I had to use a bigger one here. But on the other end of the same chain, I put a smaller jump ring on, and all you have to do to apply a jump ring is take, and this is how I do it, there's probably at least a dozen different ways and probably a dozen different tools that will allow you to do this, but I just take 2 pair of pliers. This is a round nose plier and this is a flat nose plier, and just simply twist it, and then you twist it back. And when you twist it back, you want to try not to bend the jump ring, because as you're bending it, when you get it connected, you can feel that click. And then I usually just give it a good squeeze right there just to make sure that there's a good solid connection, because you don't want your chain to slip off while you're wearing it, or if you're making this as a gift or to sell, you want to make sure that it's going to stay together when it's worn. So just make sure, that's kind of one of the most important things in making these pieces, that you make sure that your jump ring is solidly closed so that it's not able to twist, to fall through and fall off. I've had that happen, and let me just tell you, it's embarrassing. I did not like it at all. So on the other end of one of the chains, I've put just a small clasp, which when you buy these, they kind of look like a figure 8. And I simply put the jump ring, like I just showed you, on the end of the chain. And on one side of it, I put the jump ring on, and then you just simply take your flat nose or needle nose, whatever pliers you have, and squeeze it together so that that chain can't come off there. When you wear this, you just slip the other end of it on, and you don't need pliers really. You can bend that down a little bit so that it's not so likely to come off. And that's how you make the clasp for the necklace. So there's that part. Now what I've also done is taken some smaller pieces of the same chain that I used in the necklace part of it and just cut smaller lengths and joined those together on a jump ring. And then I also, these were actually silver when I started them, and just used the same patina process that I used on this to try and pull all the colors together. Now, a word of caution with these paints, because you are painting on metal, it's a good idea to seal these with some sort of sealer, because it can scratch off over time, and that's something that you don't want to have happen. So just for safety's sake, when I've completed this all the way, I will just put a thin coat of sealer of some sort on here just to make sure that the paint is protected and doesn't scratch off. The other thing that I've done is, as you can see, I have added seed beads, little charms. This one's a key, some more little beads, a wing. You can add whatever you want to add to these just to give it some interest. And I'm going to show you how, because I have not yet mastered the art of soldering. What I'm going to do is to put a hole right here. You don't need any real fancy schmancy tools. If you have a Dremel and a small drill bit, that works really, really well. What I'm going to use is my hammer and an awl. And all you have to do is poke a small hole right there, and we'll do that in a little bit. And then attach your jump ring, and you have an extension of the piece just to give it a little bit more movement, a little bit more interest. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how I made the little loops that are on the end of these little beads. Oops. My camera is not focusing real well today. So I'm just going to take a piece of wire, and what I have here, this is called an eye pin, and you can buy these just like this. They've got the little eye on the end of it, or you can buy these if you don't have the wire, which I'm out of. That's why I'm using these pins. They also have these, which are called head pins. Now, it doesn't really matter which one you use. I'm going to use the particular eye pin today because it already has a loop on the end of it. So all you're going to do is to take, I'm just going to use one of these little beads here because it kind of has the coloring. And you can just put one of these on there. It just slips right over it. I have some other seed beads that I used on here. And you can just, however you want to do this, whatever colors you want to use, it's really up to you. And you can make these as long or as short. This particular one, on the end of this particular chain, I just used one just to add a little color. So this one we're going to put, let's see, 3. We're going to put the one amber color, and then we're going to use 3 little seed beads and another amber. And then at that point, they're not completely even. You're going to cut off a part of this, the goal is to use your round pliers to mimic the loop that's on the other end. So you're just going to cut that off, and then take your round nose pliers like this, and you're going to just start at the end of the wire and slowly roll it back down towards the bead. Now, this is a little bit crooked. I don't like that just because I'm picky. So I just hold these in my hand and straighten it so that both ends are going in the same direction. Now, I close that to show you how easy it is to close a loop. You just take your wire nose pliers and your chain, and you just hook this into one of the loops on the chain, and you'll close it back up again. Now, I'm not going to sit here and finish the entire piece for you because you'll get the general idea, and I will have pictures later on to add to show you the actual finished piece. Sometimes this takes a little finagling to get that chain in there, and you want to make sure that the chain is hanging down so that when you close your loop back up, let me see if I can get this closer so you can see what I'm doing. When you close your loop back up right here, your chain is not going to be caught up in it. I've done that thinking, oh cool, that went well, and then boom, I look up and the chain has fallen off. So you just retighten that using your round nose pliers until you have it connected. And that is really all there is to adding beads to this. Now, I will add different beads on here, and if you notice, this wire is a gold tone, and it doesn't matter because there are so many different colors involved in this piece that you don't have to do anything to this. I simply wanted to experiment basically with this chain to try and match the patinas. I was playing, and I kind of liked how it came out, so I thought I would share how I did that and why I did it. It was playing. It was experimenting. So you could leave the chain exactly like this. You don't have to go through that process. See, it works just as well. Any kind of chain. You could use leather. You could use suede cord. Ribbon would be pretty here. Make a, a necklace using ribbon. Just anything that you want to do. So let me grab my hammer and my awl, and I use my hammer. Let me grab my awl, and I'll show you just how easy it is to accomplish putting a hole in there to attach that jump ring to. Thought I had everything ready. Fooled me. Actually, I did. My daughter just reorganized me. God love her. She put everything away, and I have organized chaos most of the time, so now I have to find it. Okay. I have my little ball peen hammer. Nothing fancy. This is very old. This was my grandma's. And I think this all was actually my grandpa's. And you can see it has a sharp end on it. And all I'm going to do is just set this on, I usually have a wooden metal block that I do this on just because it seems to go through easier. The metal seems to stop it, and it will blunt the end of your awl too if you use it too much. So all you're going to do is try to find the center where you want that to hang at, and you just hit it. Now it's started, so I'm going to flip it over and go to the back side and do the same thing. The reason that I like using the awl and the hammer rather than the Dremel tool is that you still have to use something to start the hole for the Dremel tool to go through. Otherwise, it just skips all over the metal. So That's why I thought, you know, it's just as easy to do this with all. And I am going to need a piece of wood or something to allow this to go through. So we're going to try another experiment. And if one thing doesn't work, try something else. You never know until you experiment with it what's going to work and what's not. Oops, that's not going to work. That's obvious. So let's see. What else do I have? I know. I have a ruler. The ruler will work because it's wood. So I'm just going to, you can see the mark, when you do this, you can see the mark where you started hammering it through. And you just hold that and give it a few good whacks until it goes through. We're almost there, just a couple more. And I don't really care if my ruler has little holes in it. Just be very careful when you do this. And if you're klutzy like I am, be especially careful because, oh, I can't tell you how many times I've been going to whack something and end up whacking my thumb or whacking my finger. Okay, so we have the hole. I don't know if you can probably can't see that very well on the camera, but the hole is right there. So now we're going to take our piece and it's going to go on the bottom and we're going to open up the jump ring like this. So just fold it back. Don't twist it, just fold it back. And we're just going to put the jump ring through that hole and do the reverse. Just close it right back up. And when you've got it right, you'll hear that and feel that metal rubbing against itself. You'll be able to feel that click, and that lets you know that you have got it in the right place. Again, I always just sort of squeeze it just to make sure there's a good connection so that nothing is going to slip out. And that's how you attach it, just like that. Now we're going to attach the other two pieces. Again, we're going to open up the jump ring, and I know for most of you this is old hat. You've been doing this for years, but there are some, and I was one. I'll be honest with you. I had a heck of a time with jump rings at first, trying to get them to stay closed. And I even bought one of those little rings that, you know, supposed to open and close the jump rings. And I'm probably not the most coordinated person in the world, so that didn't work well for me. And so it was just practice. It just was practice. And the more you do it, the better at it you'll get. And these are kind of a lighter weight than I like to use, this particular one, but it's all I had at the time. So again, you can feel it, you can hear it, it's clicking. And then I always just take one more squish just to make sure. And there you have one end of your chain attached. Now we're going to do the other end the exact same way. Open the jump ring, put it through the loop, and put it back together. Now you can see why I had to use the larger jump rings for this particular piece, just because of the width of the metal there. It's kind of thick, and sometimes you have to kind of flip it over and see where it's getting stuck. Yeah, see, I didn't even have it in the hole there. So, put through, and just close your jump ring back up again. And that's really all there is to doing a necklace of this type. I will have all of the links below in the description box to the pieces that I've used in this particular video, in this particular project, I mean. And this is how it looks when it's finished with the chain attached. Now, I actually thought, and you could do this very easily, the same process that I used here, you could do this on these two holes right here. You could put as much as you want. You could add 2 or 3 rings here if you wanted to create that flowing effect, that little movement, and I love the movement. This is what I was talking about as another option for the necklace instead of using a chain. This is suede cord. You could use suede cord to put this on here. You could use 2 or 3 suede cords braided in the different colors. Just braid them and use that as a necklace. Pardon me. Ribbons, anything. I mean, the sky is the limit. It's only up to your imagination what you do with this and how long you want to make the chain as well. You can make this as long or as short as you would like it to. And you just simply put this on and hook it back on. If you want, you can just take your finger and squeeze it just to make sure that it's not going to come off while you're wearing it. And that's really pretty much all there is to this piece. As you can see, I told you I would try to see on the back if this sanding block would take off some of the, yeah, see, it's working. You just use your sanding block and just take off as much or as little as of the actual brass as you want to take off. These pieces are extremely high quality pieces of brass. They're very solid, as you can see. These cannot be easily bent. Another little thing that I did on here is I took a piece of just a sliver of copper that I had trimmed off another piece, and it automatically curls by itself. And then I just added a little seed bead in there just to give it the illusion of an earring. And you can do the same things. You can play with that. You could make another dangle earring here if you wanted to. It's limitless. So, I hope that you have enjoyed this little short video. And again, I will post pictures of the complete finished product with the earrings once I get them all connected and finished. But as you can see, the earrings do go well with this particular project because it mimics this. You could also take another piece of filigree and make a ring to match using the same painting technique, or using your gilder's paste, whatever you happen to have. Play with your products. Get to know your products. Use your products. Don't be afraid to try something. Like I said, with this particular chain, I wanted to try it and see how it would work. If you don't like it that way, this is how you remove it. Oops. You just simply take your sanding block, and as you can see, that paint will come right back off again. So don't be afraid to play with your products, to put them on, to try different techniques with them. Just experiment, and you'll find out lots of really interesting things about what you have on hand that you can use to mimic some of the other things until, like me, I get my gilder's paste, and then I'm going to be playing even more. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you did. And I hope that you all have a very blessed day. Until next time, see you later. Bye-bye.